Yo, what is up? What is good? Welcome back to the KYLECAST. Okay. Let's get one thing squared away. Let's get it out of the way. This is a podcast. This has always been a podcast, and probably will always be a podcast for mature audiences. So if you're like under 25, like if your frontal lobe hasn't developed like the way it's supposed to, please leave the room. Keep the audio playing. I want the views up. Maybe hit that like button. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. But please leave the room. Please leave. Okay. Just checking in now. It is early November. Okay. It's I don't even know what today is. Today is the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald Day, whatever day that is. Okay. But I'm here to do a Halloweekend recap. It was a crazy, crazy Halloween weekend. Okay. Real rager going on. 1 million beers destroyed. It was a bad weekend to be a beer. I'll just say that much. Okay. I was out of commission. I was out of action for about 24 hours. All right. Which wasn't that much, right? Compared to some other people. It's probably less than 24 hours. But you know what I mean? I feel like you can usually tell like what kind of state I'm in and mentally and physically. If you check like my Instagram story, like if I'm not posting on my Instagram story, I'm usually out of commission. And it's kind of like mythological, posting that goes on over there, right? Because it's like reminds me a little bit of the Great Gatsby story of Gatsby and how he like throws these rager parties from across the lake, hoping that his lost love will like one day show up. That's kind of how I am on my Instagram story. I'm just waiting, It's a very direct, not very direct. It's very deliberate messages and forms of communication towards very specific people in my life. But they'll never know it unless they're looking for it, right? It's like that damn green. What is in that story? I love that book, but I can't think of like all the details. It's like that green light, the green light from across the bay, and that's me on Instagram, basically throwing rager parties, hoping that a particular someone will show up. But anyway, out of commission, like 24 hours, that kind of a thing. It was good. I was a Ghostbuster. I wanted to do a Ghostbuster costume for years. Actually, I love Ghostbusters. And I always thought that was a really cool costume to do. I like to try to make things myself if I'm able to, and if I'm not, like not like in a very serious way, I like to piece things together. I don't like to buy a ready-made costume, usually, because every time that I've experienced, I've done that as an adult, it's been horrible. I'm kind of a fat, tall guy, and some of these Halloween costumes and supply places, they do make like a plus size version or like an extra large or a 2X or whatever, but it just never fits right. It never fits right. The material's crappy. You just spent $50 at least on this costume to wear, and it fits horrible and it's not right. And the average person looks at that and doesn't mind. It's one day out of the year or whatever, that kind of a mindset. But I like the things that I buy to last, like a little bit, typically. Maybe wear it again for something or whatever. So, like, for Ghostbusters, I'd been thinking about that for a long time. I was like, I want to do Ghostbusters a couple years now. Previous years, just never got around to it. I've been doing Dracula for a few years. I love to dress up and do like the whole Dracula thing. And what I like about that is that is like a costume you can just kind of make on your own, just like some formal, like kind of like casual business wear, like a white button-up shirt, black pants, get a cape. You're basically Dracula right there. Add some accessories to it and stuff. And it's a very easy costume. I've done Dracula for years and like dressed it up and did some different things, added a few details, stuff like that. So this year was kind of cool. I got to do something a little bit different. Did Ghostbusters. I made my own costume out of bits and pieces I ordered on Amazon. I did this really cool like tan khaki looking jumpsuit. I actually followed a guide a little bit to find like the most accurate looking like pair of coveralls and like accessories, basically, because there's a very big, very active Ghostbusters cosplay community that does stuff all across the country, and they have Reminds me a little bit, if you're familiar with the 501st, that's a group that does Star Wars cosplay, and they're all over the United States. They have different chapters and stuff set up, and they do cosplaying events and they do charity work. Similar things exist for Ghostbusters, so I was able to follow a pretty accurate, pretty good guide, and it was very thorough and in detail, much more than what I had ever wanted to do. But it gave me a really good foundation to find. Things that were pretty accurate to the first Ghostbusters movie. And, it's kind of stupid because I dressed up and I was a Ghostbuster, I think, 3 times. 3 times for Halloween events. And, nobody looks at the costume and, like, picks it apart and there's like, oh, this is inaccurate. Because it's Halloween, nobody cares. But it's kind of cool, the fact that I could, buy these parts, these accessories, put it together and have my Ghostbuster costume. Because now the cool thing is that if I want to wear it again for something next year, or, like an event or something like that, I have this costume that is, durable. It's ready to go. It fits perfect, that kind of a thing. So that was really awesome. A few years back, I bought what I thought at the time was going to be a really nice Batman costume, and it was from a big Halloween supply store. But I'd done some research and I bought like the largest size that they had. Because I was, I'm a pretty big guy, but the thing about wearing costumes is that, depending on the weather, you like to have an outfit underneath it, at least like a sweatshirt and sweatpants and that kind of a thing. So, like, you have to kind of, accommodate the fact that you're not going to be wearing the costume just butt naked underneath. I mean, you might, but, you know how it is. And so it was like I bought this really nice Batman costume, what I thought was nice at the time. I spent, good chunk of change. It was under $100, but still, I mean, it was an investment into this costume, and I still have it. Never really wore it out because the mask is really kind of not good, and it fits okay, but it's the whole thing of like, oh, this is kind of disappointing. I thought I was going to be buying this really nice costume I could wear, a couple times or something, and then it's like, if I really wear this out one time, there's a very good chance that the crotch is going to split, or I'm going to be sweating my ass off or freezing in it, one of the two. So that's kind of why I'm against pre-made Halloween costumes. And the good thing is that with cosplay being so popular and growing, as an online community in the last, how many years, there's really great resources out there for making your own costumes. And, the cool thing is that you can make it as elaborate or as simple as you want. For me personally, putting together this Ghostbuster costume, I knew that nobody was going to look at it and like pick it apart and see if it was accurate or see if it had this or that. I just wanted it to look like a standard, 1980s Ghostbusters 1, the first Ghostbusters movie, costume with my own spin on it. And so that's what I did. And I cheaped out. I did cheap out on a couple of the items because I invested way too much money into this costume, but I wanted it. I wanted to. That's the thing, is that it's not a big deal. I wanted to do this. Thought about it for years. I want to wear it again sometime for another purpose. So I cheaped out on a couple of the items, and I didn't go quite as crazy as to making it like super, detailed, because by the time that you wear it to wherever you're going, it's a lot of work to show up somewhere, and it's, so overall, I was pretty satisfied with it. I wore it. I wore it to this trick or treating event as somebody who was handing out treats and candy. It was 1980s themed, and so the 80s is such a great decade for like so many different, iconic characters and things. And so I was like, I've wanted to do Ghostbusters for years. The first Ghostbusters is a very 80s movie. Ghostbusters was huge in the 80s, so I decided to go with that. And then I wore it with some friends. Went out to Denny's like super late at night, and we all dressed up like Halloween, and it, our Halloween costumes, and it was pretty cool. It was pretty awesome. And then I wore it on Halloween like night itself into November 1st. But the cool thing is that I knew that like I was going to be getting out of this suit for sure. I was going to not wear it constantly because even without all the accessories, it's a heavy duty like industrial flight suit coveralls that are actually meant to be sold and worn by like blue collar workers. And so I knew that I was going to roast to death in it. I could tell that after I wore it the first day. So I actually had also bought a Ghostbusters t-shirt and just some pajama pants underneath it. Because to kind of keep into like the theme, even if I took it off. So I was still a Ghostbuster. I was an off-duty Ghostbuster. That kind of a thing. But it was awesome. Had a great time Halloween. I really do love Halloween. It's one of those holidays. I didn't like it as a kid. I was afraid. I was scared all the time. I was afraid as a kid. But it's awesome, dude. I love Halloween. I had such a great time, and it was just awesome, man. You just hang out with your friends and do something fun like that, And yeah, it was awesome. I was happy to be a Ghostbuster. The thing that a lot of people don't realize, I think maybe I'm not sure, is that certain franchises like the Ghostbusters really only come along every once in a while. And we live in an age now where there's so much media to consume, and there's so many worlds and universes that you have to like kind of get into one and do all this research and stuff. The thing that's kind of neat about Ghostbusters is that there's not. It's a good thing, but it's it's one of those disappointing things that there's not a lot of Ghostbusters media compared to some of these other franchises. Going back to what I was saying earlier about like Star Wars, with people that cosplay Star Wars. It's hard to imagine how big of a universe Star Wars is. The fact that they've made all these movies, these TV shows, these games, so many books, novels, comic books, all this stuff about Star Wars constantly. And a franchise like Ghostbusters, even though it's difficult to compare the two, and I'm really not trying to make that direct comparison, but compared to something like Ghostbusters, it's like there's a couple of movies, only half of them are good or decent to watch. There's a couple comic books, there was a couple cartoons, a video game, and that's kind of it. And unfortunately, I feel like we're kind of at the end of that franchise. I know that there's a big resurgence at the corporate level of movie making, where they want to try to make like a new, like, kind of bring Ghostbusters back. And they had Ghostbusters Afterlife, and then Frozen Empire more recently. And it feels like they're trying to hand over this franchise to a younger generation. But I feel like, I don't know, like, I don't want to just like things because they're old and don't like things because they're new. But it's so hard whenever the new things that are coming out just can't compare. They are just so dissimilar to the source material. I think about what a rush the first Ghostbusters is as a movie. I mean, God, I love that movie so much. It's so funny, but it has this like crazy. It's just such a good damn movie. Like, it has such a frat party boy vibe of these freaking nerds like living together, and they're like all scientists or like really smart and stuff. And then they become these like superstars, and they save the world, or they save New York. And it's one of those movies. There's a couple movies out there that I really love because they just feel like adventures from beginning to end. They feel like a real true adventure, and that's how I feel about like the first Ghostbusters. And unfortunately, I do like the second Ghostbusters movie. I remember watching that one just as much as the first whenever I was a kid, but now whenever I watch Ghostbusters 2, it's still a good movie, but it just doesn't compare to the first one in a lot of ways, and it's disappointing. Watching that as an adult now, I was introduced to the Ghostbusters franchise whenever I was pretty young, and I had always just assumed that there was two Ghostbuster movies, and that was it. But it's just hard to compare the second one to the first. The second one's still pretty good. Some of my favorite characters that I love, we get to see them more. And I think that's why, the new Ghostbusters movies are more disappointing. They waited, I feel they waited a little bit too long to get back into that franchise. Now, the original actors are either really old or dead, unfortunately. And, I don't know. I wouldn't be opposed to them handing off that franchise to a younger generation. But part of, I'm sorry. Part of what made the original Ghostbusters so cool was that it was willing to be kind of gritty and like, I don't want to. It's not like super gritty, but it has that edge to it of like, we're not afraid to take risks and make jokes and be silly and stuff like that. Whereas the new Ghostbusters, it feels like it's catering to like the people who remember it, and like the older generation that remember it, and they're like trying to bring in this like Stranger Things generation, into like watching it and enjoying it. But I don't know. They could do a lot of different things with that franchise, and it's a franchise that I love a lot. There's really nothing more. I'm not sure what's more painful. being a fan of a franchise that kind of just doesn't exist, doesn't have a lot of entries aside from like maybe one or two movies, or like loving a franchise that is dying, That's how I felt about Star Wars for a long time. Being a Star Wars fan is like around the time that I kind of quit being into Star Wars, the franchise was just kind of dying, and I know that it's gotten better and it's coming back and stuff. But like once you kind of go through that heartbreak of things you love dying, it's hard to get back into it. But yeah, I don't know. Halloween was awesome. Couldn't ask for a better Halloween weekend. It was so cool, so fun, and I'm kind of looking ahead. It snowed for the first time of the year, like a day ago, 2 days ago, and it's awesome. It's beautiful. I'm actually sitting right now watching it snow a little bit, but it's just not quite cold enough out for it to really stick. I mean, it's a little bit, but it's change of time. Seasons changing. Here we go. I'm excited. I'm excited for the holidays, but it's always kind of a bitter excitedness. Where it's like, man, I just know that the holidays are going to disappoint me in some way, But I can't help but get excited. I can't help but become giddy. Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that. I love winter because it's so quiet and peaceful. But aside from the holidays, it is kind of a lonely time of year. Nobody's really around. Everybody's inside the house sipping hot cocoa. And that's where I want to be. I want to be inside my house with the fireplace on, reading some obscure history book, the cat's in between my feet, cuddled up, sleeping, honk shoeing, sipping on coffee or something, I often think about Santa Claus and who he is and how much I love him. Maybe I'll talk about him a different day. I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of things to say about Santa Claus. I really do. I have a tendency to get really attached to historical figures on occasion and just become obsessed with them. My most recent obsession, and I'm going to speak about it just briefly here, has got to be with chess champion, grandmaster Bobby Fischer. And it's disappointing because I try to talk to other people about Bobby Fischer, and they just don't get it. They just don't understand Bobby the way that I do. Bobby Fischer was a genius man. I mean, my God, And they point to all of his very human flaws, and they say that he said all these horrible things, and they still talk about him. They say he was this or he was that, and it's like, man, you guys just don't understand Bobby Fischer the way that I do. I look at Bobby Fischer and I see this twisted, dark reflection of myself, Not in a literal sense. I don't think that we're really that similar. But as a man, I look at him and I see, something that was like foreboding. The male loneliness epidemic, taking its form all that time ago. And he's just like a lonely guy. He was just a lonely guy who, was too smart for this world. And his thoughts festered inside of his head, and they were evil sometimes. That's the thing that's a shame, is that people try to psychoanalyze Bobby Fischer, and they say, they call him crazy. They say, oh, what a horrible guy to be born Jewish and to become an anti-Semite, and they say these different things about him. People try to psychoanalyze him and stuff. And whenever I look at Bobby Fischer, I just see a really guy, an alone guy. He was really alone, and he was given the world. And I watched these interviews, from back in the 70s and stuff, even from the 60s. And it's like everybody's kind of trying to poke fun at him. Everybody's trying to make fun of him, and there's not a lot of respect for someone that the United States tried to prop up as a national hero. And even the government eventually turned its back on him because of how he was and stuff. But it's just a shame. I see a man who is very alone and who could be mentally ill, and we as a society abandon him. We call him he goes from being our number one hero to our villain overnight. And yeah, we just kind of abandoned Bobby Fischer. I feel like we left him behind. I think it's a shame in a way. I read some of his ideas, and I want to read some more. The thoughts that he had on the game of chess. I mean, he outgrew it. He outgrew what chess was, and people will argue and they'll say, you know, they'll say so and so's better than Bobby Fischer. These new modern chess players. And it's different though, because these new modern chess players can be playing chess against people around the world constantly. They have computers and AI programs to teach them chess and to show them strategies and make the best possible plays. Bobby Fischer learned chess from his sister as a child and perfected the game alone in hotel rooms with a stack of books. It's incredible. But I was doing some research onto some of his ideas he had to further the game of chess, and I think they're really interesting. And maybe I'll explore them some other time with you. Maybe I'll talk to you about them. Maybe I'll do a video on like casual chess theory. I love to play chess casually. One of the things I think is missing from society is being able to play common games with each other. You have a little party, you have a little social gathering, you're trying to entertain guests, and everybody always reaches for Cards Against Humanity. And it's like, come on, what are we, 15? I'm above that. Let's play some real shit. Settlers of Catan is where it's at. But I wish more people would learn to play chess casually. I understand that it might have a high ceiling of entry, and I don't know how to fix that or change that. I feel like anybody can learn to play chess, really. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to be grandmaster level at it. I'm certainly not. I'm pretty dumb whenever it comes to playing games. But I love chess in particular. It's such a balanced. It's almost perfect. It's almost like the perfect game. It's been honed over thousands of years, in a sense. And I don't know. I just wish that I could play casually with people where we don't have a timer. We're not, we can talk during it. We can have a drink and have a meal, watch some TV or something, put on some music, just play a casual game of chess. I love to do that, and I been trying to do that more recently. Been trying to, it's so weird though, because you tell people you like to play chess, and they either think that you're a genius at it. Oh, I don't want to play chess with you. Who plays chess casually? Who would subject themselves to that kind of a torture of knowing a game and caring about it? But I love it because it's a social tool. I can read people's personalities, If I sit down to play chess with a friend and I kind of know what their personality is like and they know how to play, and I can kind of guess what their play style is going to be. Not always, and people can use that against you, and people can easily twist your own ego and your expectations against you. That's another level to it. Whenever you're playing chess, you're playing two games. You're playing a board game, and you're also playing a mind game with yourself and with your opponent. But I love to, test people socially. I know how you are as a person. I can guess your play style, if you're going to be aggressive, defensive, if you're going to be able to easily adapt, to what's going on or what. I love it. I think it's an incredible social tool. But, chess is kind of stigmatized in a way. It's kind of the nerd game, I see, guys that are into bodybuilding and stuff, they get really big into like Warhammer 40K and Dungeons and Dragons and all these tabletop games that are somehow, more complicated in a sense than the game of chess to a degree. But I don't see many people playing chess that are like normal. It's all a bunch of it's just a bunch of weirdos over here in my corner. But I wish I could change that. I wish there's a way we could make chess cool. I remember, what was it, like during COVID or something? I can't remember. Like, chess became really popular and everybody was on chess.com playing chess games, and there was people, on Twitch and shit streaming chess games and stuff. And that was a beautiful era. We're trying to make chess accessible and casual to more people. I think would be a fantastic thing. I think it'd be a good move in many regards. It's awesome. It's a fun game. I love it. I would talk about it for hours if I could. Maybe another time. I'm trying to make the podcast a little bit longer form. I'm trying to fit, more ideas and to speak on things more in depth. I have a lot of ideas. That I want to do. I've been thinking a lot about maybe actually making some videos again, making funny, regular regular style videos, I think would be a good step to go towards. I love creating. That's the thing, is that some like philosopher is probably like Nietzsche's or somebody, I don't know, one of those like edgy philosophers that 17-year-old Sigma males read about. There's a quote out there. I don't remember exactly how it goes, but it's like, let me think about it. It's like, the warlike man in peacetime wages war on himself. And everybody reads that and they think it's so deep. Men are killing themselves. Metaphorically and literally, and all this bullshit, right? Well, I have a great counter argument to that. That's probably just as edgy, just as cringy, but it's maybe a little more peaceful. The artistic man without a canvas turns himself. I'm sorry. Let me try that again. Give me 2 seconds. I'm saying deep philosophical things right now. The artistic man, when without a canvas, paints himself. Kyle Davis, 2025. I said that. And what I mean by that is I often think of myself and how I have this intuition constantly to create things and to make things that are physical and well, not physical, but realized. I have the tendency to have thoughts in my head, and I want to see them realized into something tangible. I write constantly. I love to write. I love to type on a computer and write, that way. More serious things get written that way in my life. I keep several physical paper journals at once, and I write in them whichever one I have on me at the time I write in, and I keep multiple of them in rotation. For no realistic reason, I just like to do it that way. I like to scatter my thoughts. No one book will have all of my thoughts into it. I keep them and I categorize them and catalog them. And one day, if I die early, if I die as a young man, I entrust my closest friend to publish them and make sure that they see the light of the world. Because there's some really crazy stuff in there. And maybe if I become an old man, if I get to live long enough, maybe I'll publish them myself. But I'd rather, in the event of an untimely death or something, I die young, I hope that somebody takes those and overanalyzes them and translates them from my atrocious, serial killer intuition-based handwriting and makes it into something tangible and legible, typesets it, And I have notes app on my phone full of random bullshit, random thoughts that I have throughout the day. Constantly I'm texting people my schizophrenic thoughts and all kinds of bullshit because I have to get it out of myself. I have to get it out of my system, get it out of my head. And in so many ways, I'm like that across the board. I used to make YouTube videos as an outlet. I have creative ideas and I can see it in my mind, and I know exactly how I'm going to film something and then piece it together and clip it and put audio. I can do it in my head. I can think of it in my head. I can visualize it on the screen. Excuse me. I know exactly how I want to do it, but I actually have to do it to make it a reality. And I'm that way with videos. I've said it before. This whole podcast thing is kind of a cheap, easy way for me to get my thoughts out there and to still create things without having to put in a lot of editing effort. And I know that's not good. It's a lazy way of doing it, and I shouldn't be lazy. But it's getting me through right now. Whenever I don't really have time to be making things of great artistic significance, right? I can sit down here in my car for like a half hour and I can talk a bunch of bullshit and say all kinds of insane things. And there doesn't need to be a visualizer to go with it. I hop into paint.net whenever I'm done and put together a thumbnail and I upload it for the world to listen to. And the audio is horrible and the quality is horrible and my thoughts don't make sense. I'm not scripted out. I don't have anything in front of me. I'm not reading off of anything. It's horrible, but I do it because it's an outlet for me and I need to do something, but I want to keep developing that. Same reason why I love to post on Instagram. I don't want to be one of those like retarded people on Instagram, but like, it's like, I got to get things out there. I have ideas of how I want to do things and I know exactly how it goes. I can see it in my head at all times. I can literally go through the steps in my head, how things are going to go, how things are going to be cropped, the way that I want it edited, the way that the grain's going to go, things like that, the tools that I'm going to use, the folders I want to have it organized, open it up in Lightroom, open it up in all these different apps and things, edit it the way that I want it to, put it together, put the song with it, the caption, tag whoever I need to tag, put in a funny location or whatever. I can visualize all these things in my head. I'm doing it in my head constantly. Every second of every day, I'm almost positive that I'm thinking about something that I want to create, whether it's, an idea for, I need to write this down in my physical paper journal the next chance that I have, or I have an idea for a video. I need to put it somewhere to remember it later and I can work on it. It's a golden idea I have right now whenever I'm working or, doing something where I can't immediately get started, and I have these thoughts like that constantly, 24/7 in my head. And I'd love to just be able to do that stuff all the time. I'd love to be able to not have to work, a serious job for a living. I can just create things and make things. And there's thousands, millions of people out there that do that, and that's what their job is just to create and make things. But it has to be good. There has to be a reason why you're making money off of it. You can't just sit in your car in the winter and talk into your phone like this and make $1 billion off of it. Maybe I could probably do that, but you just can't do stuff like that. You got to do something, worthwhile and meaningful. And I am a published writer. My writing is out there. It might be hard to find digitally, but I'm published. There's a copyright to the work that I do that is published. I'm published a minimum of 4 times a year. Prior to that, I was published, every week, and I have experience in journalism and things of that nature. And so I'm, thinking about maybe my next thing that I do. I want to do a book. I want to write something significant that's out there, and something that is less of an article kind of thing. I want to write something that's significant, that has and I wouldn't mind exploring fiction, writing fiction, but I read mostly nonfiction material. I read more things that are real, things that are based on real things, or historical fiction, things like that. I like real shit. I like stuff that's real. Not that I don't enjoy. Whenever I watch a movie, or I listen to, I don't know, something. Whenever I consume media that doesn't require reading and requires less, imagination in a sense. I could go either way, fiction or nonfiction, or, whatever. Sci-fi or fantasy. I don't really care. Whenever it comes to actually reading a book, though, there's information that I want from it. To read a book is laborious for me. I love literature, and I read constantly as well, but it's more so, articles, and I read sort of short forms of media and literature. So whenever I sit down to actually read a book, usually it has to have some kind of a good intent to it. I'm reading the Odyssey, by Homer. I'm reading something that has some substance to it. It's a classic. It's Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, or something that's real. That's there's a purpose to me reading it and having the book. And I'm trying to get back into reading a little bit, but reading can be very performative, and it can be a very expensive hobby. And everybody always says about either audiobooks or read on your phone and stuff. But I like I like physical things. I like physical media. I like to have something in my hand. So one of the things I've been thinking about doing is maybe redoing my book collection, because I own so many books and I don't read them very often at all. And many of them I have not read, and I just want to have that book to own it, because I like that thing that it represents, and I like the way that it looks. And I'm a academic kind of person. I like to have things on hand if I need to consult them, and things that are reliable, that are physical, that cannot be changed, as opposed to reading things online that could be lost, or could be changed and translated differently, and things like that. But I'm thinking about redoing that. I want to get rid of some books that I just don't care about, or put them somewhere else. And there's so many books that I am interested in that are more serious for me. I'm thinking about maybe doing that reset, but I know that it's not going to make me read more. I'm never home, and I don't have time to, I don't take books with me places. If I go someplace in a situation where it would be socially acceptable to read a book, usually I'm writing instead of reading. Usually I'm getting my thoughts out rather than processing information in. But I don't know. I'd love to sit at home and read, and that kind of a thing. But it's just not. Right now in my life, it's just not for me. But I wish it was. I I strive, I think, in a way, to be like kind of an academic type, and I'm working on that. I'm working on becoming more, you know, of an authority on certain matters and certain issues. I'm trying to study and trying to reinvent myself in a positive, intelligent way. I I kind of hate meeting new people in a certain regard. I love to talk to people, and I think I like to meet people, but I kind of don't. I don't know. I've been meeting a lot of people recently, that are just kind of not good. They're just kind of dumb. I don't want to talk to them. They're very one dimensional, you know. Sometimes I do think that maybe we go throughout this life and we encounter people that are just NPCs. You know, they don't have a lot of substance to them. They have, two thoughts in their head, either good or bad, and you try to talk to them, and it's like, I don't know. Have you ever thought about anything like beyond if it was good or bad? You know, you talk to people about, what do you think about this or that, and it's either good or it's bad. It's never like, oh, well, I think this because of that, and it's never, cohesive, well thought out, and it's kind of disappointing. I love that. I don't know. I love conversation. I love, talking to people and stuff like that. But everybody that I've been meeting recently is just horrible, just awful. I whenever you say that, you sound kind of pretentious, like get a load of Einstein over here or whatever the hell. But it's like, I just want to talk to people. I want to talk to people about things that are deep and interesting and that are meaningful. And instead, all I get back is good or bad. I don't know. It's very frustrating. And then I feel like an asshole over here because I talk to people and, I'm speaking to you right now as if you were like a dear friend to me or something. And whenever I talk, sometimes I use larger words that are, evident of a more diverse vocabulary. You know what I mean? And whenever you say words that people don't mean, they're like, "Oh, you're so smart," dumb it down for me, whatever the hell they say. And it's like, I don't know, it's just not right. I don't truly think that like a lot of people on this earth are actually like dumb or unintelligent. They just haven't been, educated or haven't put their mind to it. It's like back to that whole thing I was saying about chess. Whenever you tell people that you can play chess and you know the rules and stuff, they think that you're like, oh, get a load of Oppenheimer over here, whatever. And it's like, no, you just got to put some time into it. The reason why I know different words and what they mean is because I'm chronically online, not because I'm a pretentious college guy. I've never been to college. I just spend a lot of time reading. I spend a lot of time online. And that's the thing. Like, maybe if I had a normal teenage experience where I was out doing dumb shit all the time, I probably would be like that. But instead I spent my evenings playing strategy games, playing Paradox and Total War strategy games and reading Wikipedia articles because I was like a loser. You know what I mean? Like, but it all comes full circle because everything that I've done in the past has prepared me for the person that I am today. And so now now is my opportunity. Now is my era, to be the degenerate asshole. My education is over. I've learned enough, I know a thing or two. It's time for me. It's my era, that kind of thing. But I don't know. I like academic things. I've been thinking a lot about, the pursuit of knowledge and how I just want to learn things constantly. And the things that I already do know about, there's so much more out there to learn about them. It's like, I don't know. There's just like there's webs, there's trees to everything. I want to learn more about chess. And whenever I was growing up, I always was told that Bobby Fischer was the greatest chess player who ever lived. So I go down, a path of learning about Bobby Fischer, and I understand things about him, and I get his life. I know what he was about. I know what his strategies were. Then it's on to the next thing. There's another thing, under that. Well, who did he tutor? Who was a student of his? Who did he learn from? Who were his inspirations? Who were his greatest opponents? And then you go through this, you go down to that rabbit hole of trying to find things out. And I'm doing that like constantly with stuff, and it's horrible. And you never fully learn or master anything. You're just constantly learning, and it's wonderful and horrendous at the same time. It reminds me a little bit of like physical fitness. I kind of have always been interested in that for over 5 years now. Although if you looked at me, you'd never think that. because I'm kind of a chubby guy. But I love, I love gym culture and classic, I love classic bodybuilding and, that kind of an era and stuff. And I like to learn about that. It's awesome. But it's the same thing. It's just a big rabbit hole. You start learning about, everybody learns about Arnold, and you learn about Arnold, or who were his, greatest rivals, and who were his, who were his proteges, who were his mentors. And then you go down this big, you'll never get yourself out of it. You'll never learn enough about it. And that's how I feel about, a lot of stuff. But I'll let you go here. It was good talking to you as always. Just to recap, Halloween weekend, absolute banger. They'll never make another Halloween weekend like that ever again. It was awesome. Had such a good time. Ghostbusters is awesome. If you haven't seen that movie, even if you've seen it 30 or 40 times, do yourself the pleasure and watch Ghostbusters right now. And play some chess with a friend. Play some chess with a dear friend and have a conversation as you're playing the game. Focus on the game, but, have a good time. Be casual about it. It's okay. It's okay for us to pursue these things in life and not be super serious about it all the time, That's okay. Go to the gym. Go to the gym and lift a couple weights and don't kill yourself over it, Don't starve yourself. Don't run yourself down. Lift some weights because you want to lift it, We're not I don't know, man. We don't got to be so serious all the time about everything, but it's cool. We're chilling. Have a good time, take care of yourself. I don't know, man. Just enjoy your life. It's baller out here. Currently, I'm sipping, let me see what I got right here. Currently, I'm sipping on a Monster. It's a Monster Nitro Super Dry. It's pretty awesome, man. You can hear me take a little sip right now. I hope that this turns out in post-production. Now that's delicious. If you ever had that before, it's like the regular Monster flavor, but it's nitro. It's super dry. It's delicious. It contains milk for some reason, but you can kind of taste the milk in a way. It's just like a creamy Monster. I'm over here sipping on a creamy Monster because she won't let me have her creamy Monster, if you know what I'm saying. And it's delightful. It's delicious. I have a 3 milligram Zen Smooth in right now. It's actually almost done. I've had it in for way too long, probably an hour. So it's lost its buzz. It's just there as a comfort tool. I know that it's in my lip, and so I feel good about myself. You guys see those new Zen flavors they're coming out with? They're dropping couple limited edition ones. That looks awesome. Maybe more video ideas coming. Zen review. We'll do a flight of Zens. Every flavor available in the United States market. We'll do that. And, we'll have a good time. But maybe one day. Until then, you take care of yourself. I hope that I'll get to have an opportunity to speak to you before Thanksgiving gets here. The time's really getting away from me. I didn't put one of these things out for 6 months. And then I was like, oh man, maybe I should do that again. So I did. And now it's been probably a couple of weeks. And then now you're finally hearing from me once more. And I'm very inconsistent because it's my lifestyle and it's the hedonist way that I live. And that's okay too, I'm having a great time overall. I mean, I'm not very happy, constantly. I have a lot of existential dread, and I don't think I'm really accomplishing much in my life. But, man, I'm having a great time doing it. I'm having a freaking ball, dude. I love, all these activities and side quests that I'm involved in. I'm just constantly busy with fun stuff. It's incredible. You should try it sometime. But until you do, please take care of yourself. It's been nice chatting with you. You have yourself a great night. Sleep well.